Hey there, Jen here. Hope everybody is doing well. All right, so I'm gonna try and jump right into this. Life is funny the way it works. Something about the algorithm seemed to open up a little recently on both ends. I seem to be seeing other channels and they seem to be seeing me again, which is different and new. And of course, I'm a little bit nervous because I always am to share parts of my testimony, but I think that they can help you, and I hope that they can. And I hope that somebody watches this and sees this. My chair is super uncomfortable for me. I apologize if I scooch and fuss like a child. Um, so, life is funny the way that it works. Now, I've said this before, but people don't seem to pay attention, or at least those who stalk you, stalk us, don't seem to pay attention. Now, let's define this real quick for anyone who happens to stumble across this video and it's new to them. What is gang stalking? Well, it's this phenomenon that at first was labeled or blamed on people with mental illnesses. And I'm not saying those don't exist. I'm not saying that they don't make up parts of this group. I'm also not saying that when a bunch of people are around you telling you things and coordinating their efforts around you, it can make your whole situation look a little mental. So gang stalking is when it's almost like a community watch where people watch you. Now, some people will say, well, don't you deserve this? Didn't you do something wrong? Some people, yes. And for a couple of months, I was a little inappropriate. I don't know what to call it. We were doing a substance that we should not have been doing. That's not what this specific video is about. Uh, I wasn't a dealer. I'm not a dealer or anything like that. And, I do not promote breaking the law, and I don't break the law myself, as far as I know. So let's move on now that we got the disclaimers out of the way. I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. My disclaimers are in the description box. Now, let me just make sure we are live on the channel, and I will tell you real quick what happened and again, how synchronistic life seems to be and how things seem to work sometimes. And, let's see. Oh no, you're not gonna. I don't know if it's gonna cooperate. Are you going to cooperate? It's not cooperating and nobody's here yet, so let me see. We switch here to my other channel. There we go, jump in. Yep, it's working. Okay. So synchronistically, it's odd the way that things work, but when this targeting starts, yes, you might be doing something wrong, or you might be on somebody's list. Maybe you offended somebody in a big way. Maybe you have individualistic beliefs as far as politics go. Maybe you don't vote like me. Maybe you're not a part of any group and you're a lone wolf, so you're easy to target. Maybe you were in jail. A lot of different people can make up this group. And I believe that it is all things start in spirit and they manifest physically. So while it is being done, I believe a big in part with technology and by human beings, they are driven by, and America seems to have this spirit over it at this point of time that has dominion over us. It is our principality. There is we have an earthly governor, there is one above us, an angel, and it seems as though the one above America might be fallen. I happen to think it's the one they call Asmodeus, but I don't know that for certain, and I try not to use their names a lot, and I just don't recognize them in most things. But in talking about this video, it's important that you understand your own sovereignty and your own free will and how to wield that as a sword, as the sword of the spirit. Um, so while some people may have done something wrong, some people may have just ticked off the wrong person, and some people have been watched their whole lives. I'm one of those people. I've had issues my whole life. In part to my own behavior, I can be argumentative, I can be stubborn, I can be bullheaded. I know this. And for a woman, I can be a little loud or rough around the edges, working on that. I am a in progress, as I think we all are. So that's a little bit, that's kind of what gang stalking is. But it goes much deeper than that because here in America, we were sold out. And I believe that happened mostly back in 2017, 2018, but it's been happening since we were born. And most of us have been monitored under surveillance since we were born because there have been hidden cameras. Watergate told us that. Um, so everybody's walking around looking for ghosts. And sometimes people just get bored and want to have fun with other people. So, a little bit about technology. Now, you are not as anonymous as you might think on the internet. Somebody can attach to you like a tracker, like an AirPod, and follow you around, whether you make videos or not. They can follow your quote unquote signature and they can go to every video you're on. They can comment on every video that you comment on, much like real life, how they have a smear campaign against your reputation, which was the case with me. I believe that I know things or I knew things that I didn't know I know. Now I know what they are. Now I see the bigger picture, but I didn't know them then. And again, I'm not here to narc on anyone or do anything like that either. In case you haven't noticed, America is the Wild Wild West. It is lawless. And just so you know, executive orders are not laws. You're welcome for that, by the way. It's people follow them en masse and it's monkey see, monkey do. They're not laws. They're not written in the books as laws. So, so this is a holdover from World War II. And again, sometimes you could just make the wrong person mad. And sometimes it is bad people who are targeted with a good reason. People who seek to harm children. But in this time that we're living in, those people seem to be flourishing and succeeding and doing well, while those of us who have stood our ground, at least verbally, and have tried to stand in the gap, we are taking on all of those arrows um, like a first line of defense. Hi, Chris Sutter. Good morning, or happy rise and shine. Greetings and salutations. So the last year or two have been really hard on me. I don't like showing my face because you can see it on me. And these videos aren't about me, but this part of my testimony might help you. So they can put people in your algorithm so that you see their channel and so that they look like it's organic. Well, algorithms aren't organic anyways, but people can go into your suggestion feed from the back end of an app like YouTube or Facebook or Rumble or TikTok, and they can feed you specific channels that they want you to see. Every time a gang stalker shows up in my feed, I know it. I know it by the signs and symbols that they use. They all look the same. I've gone over all of this before. The funky sunglasses, they always have sunglasses on, even in video and picture. Most of them have rough teeth. Most of them are bald. Most of them sadly do have tattoos. Again, these are physical stereotypes, but stereotypes exist for a reason. Not everyone with a tattoo is a gang stalker, but these people seem to share these character traits or these physical traits. So every time one of these people is put into my algorithm, I know it. And most of them, people think that I forget like my life or something. Most of them I have seen or met at some point in my life. And trust me when I say I've met a lot of people. I am not well traveled, but I've met a lot of people. I've had a lot of different jobs. I've only got terminated like twice. So I really, am experienced as far as people and human behavior goes. I've been in two very abusive relationships, one with my mother and one with the father of my children. I do not give their names. I do not show their faces to protect them because this is not about placing blame. The reason I speak my testimony and tell you the things that are going on in my life is to help you and to air it out. Confession helps to unburden things. Otherwise, these demonic frequencies, demonic sentient beings, astral travelers, whatever you prefer to call them, I personally don't care what you call them. They exist. This happens. This is how people get physically ill and sick, is from things that we necessarily cannot see attaching to our temples, both physical and again, the parts that we cannot see but are very present. So this person showed up in my algorithm, and this person was going to be a vagabond. And I've searched nomads and vagabonds. I like to learn from them, I like to watch them. People think that I'm just like stuffing headed, but it's good to watch channels that teach you things. And that's what I gravitate towards is camping, honestly, to see how they put up their tent, to see how long it takes them to put up their tent, even if it's Bigfoot videos about camping, right? Then I like to see what they're doing wrong, and how unquiet they're being. Those are just examples. So they put people in your algorithm and they put somebody in mine recently, and I have not spoken with anyone on YouTube that hasn't been from the first channel in probably 3 years. And I stopped talking to everyone. I go through these phases where, I test the waters and see how people are. And if things are still weird, I go back and I keep to myself again. I will still keep making videos. I will still comment on my own channel, but I won't email or correspond or talk with anyone on the phone or via email or text. Because again, these electronic algorithms that exist that they've created, and these apps that they've created, and these voice messaging systems. This is why I don't really wholly trust people that don't show their faces on video at least once or at all or ever, because it is too easy to do a voiceover. And it is too easy for the electronics to glitch out and send a wrong message. And then you have human relationships at risk because of electronic error. And I've seen that happen time and again. I worked at a cell phone company. I've dealt with it in my own household. I've dealt with it with Google. You can go into your texts. For anyone who's on a family plan Google, you can go into their texts and see the text that they've sent people if their phone number is attached to their email. And you can read. And I went in and did that. I had to learn how to do that because it was as if I was having two different conversations, with the people I was messaging and the messages that I was receiving back. None of it was making any sense. So I had to go in and learn about all of these things myself. So somebody recently showed up again, and I know that they replaced there. I knew this when I started commenting on their channel. I never said anything like, you're cute, you look good, nothing like that. It was not flirtatious. And I see now where the phrase toxic masculinity comes into play. Now, men, I'm not picking on you because women, we have our own set of problems in this time. But right now, I'm a woman coming to you with how a males behave towards me. Okay. Not all males. I have one, two sometimes that I speak with, that I've spoke with, that are a little bit older than me, that have been around since the first channel. All we really do is send each other videos and talk about spiritual things. There is nothing, I don't even know how to explain it. I do believe in the Bible, but I also believe that there are other texts that matter and that are not given, justification because it places women. I don't want to call us equal because we're not all equal. You're stronger than I am in some ways, and I'm stronger than you in some ways, but we all have the same rights given to us by our Maker. Nobody can take that away, and they don't come from a piece of paper. Anyways, this person showed up here, and I believe that men and women can talk. Men and women can work side by side if you're both of the agreement that everything is platonic and that there is no, and I mean, not by today's standards. I'm talking about the Essenes or the Cathars, religious groups who live together side by side. Some do radical things like shave their heads and whatnot, some do not, but they have men and women in balanced seats of council for the community. And I believe those seats should change every year or two so that there is no chance for corruption, no chance for clicks to be made. So this is why I talk to males and females both. The problem is not with me in this arena at this time, in this instance. Once, when I was still younger, I still thought my children needed a good role model. I was feeling stuck. I was lonely. I was talking to people back home. Yes, I got inappropriate, and I'm being very open about that. Okay. But what happened here is this person, when I declined their, I don't know what to call them, um, I was supportive. I said, I encourage you. You know, I think this is admirable what you're doing. I look up to you. Keep trucking, keep trying. You know, you'll figure it out because this person had traveled and traveled down to Arizona. Another reason I know they were placed in my feed on purpose. Um, and so this person got desperate because they were like, oh, there's a bus station right down the road. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. Wherever I go, I'm going to go alone. And, you know, this is a journey I have to walk on my own. And with my dog, my pit bull, you know, I'm very open and honest and very firm. Um, and then they messaged me again a couple more times like, hey, you know, I think we could be a success if we collabed on YouTube, blase, blase. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really do that. I'm not. And already, like with this person, no, like this person does not have an established channel. I think I am the only one seeing their videos, which is another red flag to me that I'm the only one seeing this. See, if you decide to go off with one of these people, they have to be able to erase them from your whole account history. That means comments, that means video chats, that means emails. Now, I never video chatted with this person. I never talked with this person on the phone. And that's the thing. The second you get inappropriate with me, I'm going to shut you down right there. But this was not good enough for me to tell this person, like, no, I'm like to not reply. And then when I did reply, I was firmly like, no, this is not happening. Then they got mean and they all say and do the same things. They're the same flavor. It gives you the same feeling when they talk to you. You feel dirty. You feel disgusting, not with yourself, but just like almost secondhand embarrassment. He started telling me how I was an adulteress and how I shouldn't have been simping him. And I said, I didn't know what that meant. And he said, well, you're so great at research. Go Google it. Well, that person already right there, there's another red flag. They had told me they hadn't seen any of my videos. Well, if you didn't see my videos, how would you know that about me? And why do they send people to you that aren't a little more prepared? It's kind of strange. And you'll say, well, Jen, maybe he was innocent. Again, I met a person with his same name years ago. They came to my wedding with a mutual friend. All the friends that I have here are because of him. It is not out of the realm of possibility to think that because I strayed on someone, now their family hates me. But further than that, it goes deeper. There is serious abuse that has happened over the years. I suspect there's more that I don't know. And so this person started telling me about how maybe things would be better with my husband and my son because I had told him a little bit about, and again, it's nothing I haven't said on the channel. I said, no, this is a road I'm going to walk alone. Um, the men in my life have greatly changed. They're not themselves. I don't know what happened. It's almost as if they don't have souls anymore or the same spirits. Something's wrong. Um, and he started getting very vile. You've committed adultery. You won't even admit it. Um, you shouldn't be messaging with strange men, just all this stuff. Let me say it again. Men and women should be able to have basic conversations. I worked with women who went to lunch with other men. They were friends from high school or common friends of them and their husbands. And I said, well, what does your husband think of this? My husband would never allow such a thing. She was like, what do you mean? We're just friends. We're in a public place having lunch. That's when I started to notice that like my life was really not the way that it should be. But when they say toxic masculinity, I never fell in for any of that talk, but I don't know what else to call this. He starts telling me about how things would be better. Let me tell you something. Every day I do things all day long for other people. And again, this isn't to brag. There's a reason I'm telling you this, and I'll get to the meat of this message in a few minutes about why I tolerate this behavior. Now, this person has been blocked. I've not talked to them. I've not spoken with them. I've blocked them on the channel and my email and my phone. I'm not stupid, right? But it's sad because men and women should be able to have conversation without accusations flying around all over the place. I've been guilty of it on both ends. So I can actually speak on it because I've now taken the plank out of my own eye. I've fixed that problem. God willing, God, with my cooperation with God, remaking me in how I originally was before I got all dirty with misbehavior. So, anyways, um, my son greatly needs me. He doesn't know it. Very few other people know it, but he greatly needs me. I don't know what's happened to him. He is also very different. It happened with him after it happened with his father, but he did something to me, and I suspect that might be why these things are befalling him now, these illnesses in the body. This is very hard to talk about because I was under legit some type of severe hypnotism, Stockholm syndrome for a long time, and I trusted my husband's family with my children because they were family. I didn't know that oftentimes that's where the worst of the predators lie. But my son has me. I do things for him at his age that I should not have to do. It's okay. I don't mind doing them. Um, it's very hard to watch the people that you love decline into such a state. I love them. That is why I have stayed. They don't know they need me here. I still make my son's doctor's appointments, his dentist appointments. I still clean his room. I do all of his laundry. He needs about 2 loads of laundry done every day. So for a stranger to attack me and to say, well, maybe this is why you have the problems that you have with your son and your husband, you know not of what you speak. And shame on you. Why do I tolerate these people? Because I know it the second I'm not allowed to, I've not received, and I keep saying this, and still certain people keep emailing me. I've not received emails or any correspondence from anyone that was not severely managed. I suspect somebody gets my mail before I get it. It's always pretty late, um, which stinks for Medicaid and things like that. Whenever I talk to a representative online, it's always someone named Jessica, or they have a weird name like Mo Dragon. Um, and we've talked about all this. So why do I put up with it? I put up with it because this is what we're called to do. Because I'm in boot camp, because I'm in purgatory, because I'm paying for the things that I've done. Um, and I try to do it out of love. Now, I do raise my voice. I do still have flaws, obviously. And I don't know how else to deal with it. Eventually, it gets to the point where you see someone you love the most in the world really suffering, and another person who used to really care about that person. And when I say NPC behavior, like, I totally mean that. It's like a script. He says all the same things, does all the same things. Like, there is nothing different in any day. There is no human type of behavior other than asking me to get naked, which I don't do with anyone anymore. And I do that because God told me to do that in this time. My story is not your story. What I do, perhaps you are not meant to do. I am sorting out my own salvation with fear and trembling. You should do the same. I don't mean for this channel to bring people down. That's not the point. So why do I do this? Why do I keep doing for people that don't even give me the time of day, that neglect me, that don't treat me like I'm human, don't treat themselves like they're humans, who don't behave humanly, who are on their way to being like Nebuchadnezzar? One word, just one. And it's the one law that everything Christ did was built upon. And it's the only thing that will remain when everything is refined in the fire. One word is why I do this. Love. Love. It's that simple. I know that people make fun of me and mock me. I have not kept a job because it is a small town and I can only walk to jobs. And it's not very hard for these people to get a word and suddenly they treat me different. Maybe, and again, they accuse us of what they do. Maybe everyone here has been told I'm a child harmer. I am not. And I have stood against that for years now. The second that I knew I had been negligent. So I'm going to pull up why I put up with this, why I do what I do. Oh, they took their like away. And that's sad. I've come to believe it's all caused by demons. Yes. They get in one person, then get in everyone connected to that person if they can. Yes. You know this already, don't you? Yes. Transcendence of spirits. I was just going to get to that. Migration of the soul. Or is it a soul though? I don't know. But yes, so there's two different things, right? There's the transmigration of a soul. And you knew I knew this. That's funny. That's so cool. Like the movie The Fallen with Denzel Washington. My eyes got a little leaky. And I cry like, dude, I just think about the movie E.T. and I could come to tears. And it's not that they're crocodile tears or that they're not sincere. You don't have to believe me, the mockery, the making fun. And that's what I was going to touch on. Thank you, Chris Sutter, for keeping me going. Because when you talk about personal testimony bits, it gets hard. It gets ugly. So thank you. Yes, I do know this. Transference of spirits. It's also called transmigration of the soul, if you want to talk about reincarnation. Now, people will say, oh, but that doesn't exist. Au contraire. I'm here to say it does, and Christ talked about it. And I'm going to show you why I am the way that I am. And I left you a link in the comment section because this doesn't have to take too long. If nobody shows up to watch, then I'll just end the video early. Here we go. All right, I'm going to I know almost nothing about reincarnation, Chris Utter said. Well, it's the same thing of what you're talking about, transference of spirits, about how demons go from, hold on, I'll bring this up in 1 second, about how the demonic energies, people don't want to hear the word demons, low level vibration frequencied beings, lower sentient level beings, energies, demons. Transference of spirits. If someone is already in a state of mortal sin, now this is where Protestants and, I want this to be a user-friendly video, and I don't want everything to be like Christianese and confusing people or anything like that, but certain things have to be brought up. The people that I worked with, they all had one thing in common. They all used a substance, and it was very obvious. They didn't think it was obvious. It was obvious. Once you know, right? So these people were all using this substance and thinking that it wasn't obvious. When you open yourself up like that, when you are either in a state of mortal transgression, what does that mean? You have committed like a murder in some shape, way, or form, and you can murder somebody's spirit too. Like, that's important to understand. When they say feelings don't matter, only facts do, see, that's only half right. Because when someone hurts your feelings, that's them breaking your heart. And that's one of the most serious offenses that you can do to another person. I know this because I've broken a couple of them. Not purposely. Usually it's not intentional, but for me, it wasn't intentional. So, like the movie The Fallen, when Denzel Washington, he's walking down the sidewalk and certain people just keep looking at him and he looks and he's like, that's how I am. I recognize this same spirit in people. And it gets in, again, the computers. This is why you can't blame the person, because oftentimes when it's said and done, they don't know how they've behaved. Uh, they don't realize what they look like and how they turn. Sometimes they don't remember it at all. When you are not baptized, when you're in a state of serious transgression, when you've caused serious harm to another or yourself in a variety of different ways, you are open. Some people would say your chakra is open, your third eye is open, but not in a good way, not in a godly way. So you want your third eye open, but sealed by God. You want the seal of God in there, in your pineal, your pineal. And yes, that's biblical. Read about wrestling with God. Or wrestling with the angel. It's in there, okay, about the pineal gland. Everything is echoed outward. Everything causes a ripple, and then you have these echoes, right? These holograms almost. It's not the genuine artifact, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. So that's what happens. These things can get into, and that's what happened to me at my jobs. Although again, these people know each other too. They're in biker clubs, almost all of them. They like to do good deeds because, again, that's virtue signaling. It makes them look good on the surface so that, and it's how they, let's be real, it's called bribery. If you give enough to any foundation in the town or country or state, you can do whatever you want. And America is lawless. And look, another viewer left. It's the truth. This is just the truth. And other people talk about gang stalking. They get 10, 20, 50, 11 million people on their channel. You know, this is how I know my channel is hidden. Thank you, Chris. This is how I know my channel is hidden. So they can get into people and you will recognize it, just like Denzel Washington walking down that sidewalk, or the game of Guess Who that we played as a kid, where it was like a memory match game, but they put the characters in different wigs and different glasses, like the celebrities do when they go to Congress and they pretend like they're politicians and they put on some makeup, or they use AI even better. Anyways, Denzel Washington knew it was the same spirit because it kept looking at him in that same way, or it would say the same things to him, or it would talk about the same stuff to him or with him. And it's strange, again, the things you can tell when it's in somebody because it doesn't know how to be human. Like it's so hard to explain. And this is why people believe in aliens, because you have people right next to you that look like you and they talk like you, sort of like they sound like you, right? But they don't seem to understand. It's uncanny valley. It's that feeling. Like how you get when you see a robot. That's how I felt when I saw Putin the other day and he gave that reporter that weird look. It reminded me of that robot Sophia with it, you know, she had skin on her, the way their eyebrows, like they look evil when they do that. Like I don't know how to explain it. And again, it's Uncle Leo in Seinfeld. Chris Utter said, I think God wanted me to see you because you just showed up in my scrolling. Well, that would be nice, but God is bigger than all of this, and that's the one thing that is good for people to keep in mind, is that God is bigger. God is above all this, and all you have to do is pray. Now, here's the thing: everybody's prayers are answered. Everybody's. And God is teaching me this lesson right now because He told me this yesterday, and it pains me to say, but sometimes God's answer is no. Sometimes God's answer is no. So I'm going to show you the reason if you are a Christ follower and you have spiritual warfare issues, or if you just want to be a good person, you're striving to be a good person, and you understand that there are certain pieces of literature that can teach us, and that by hearing, that's how faith is built. And again, these sound like religious words. They've been made into religious words. They're supposed to be a way of life. We're supposed to be religious in our daily way of life, if that makes sense. So let me pull this up. And again, this explains why I am the way I am, why I tolerate it, why, yes, I do talk to men and to them. You see, it's real easy to tell when somebody's not really a Christ follower either, because they will only read usually from the Old Testament, or if they do read from the New Testament, it's only something that, like, well, I don't want to get into that, but they won't read Christ's words. And but you see people wear crosses all the time, and people say Jesus, yes. But when you get to a certain point in this, when you get to be so spiritually burnt on fire by that name being said around you, um, once you get so far gone, you can no longer do that. It's a black screen now. Hang on a second. Let's see if sometimes it takes a minute. I am pulling up, hold please. Hang on. I'm still here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. Yep, it's right. It's there. Okay, so this is a painting. This is called the Sermon on the Mount. Some people call them the Beatitudes. It's simply in the book of Matthew, part 5, chapter 5. Don't be scared away if you're not religious or Christian, because again, everybody at this time can learn from this. And garbage in, garbage out. If all you're pouring into yourself is compilations and alien and things that are strange, you need to feed yourself some spiritual fruit. And this is not me glorifying myself by any means. This is about this. This is why I tolerate it. And this is why I keep witnessing to people who hate me. This is why I'm still in the town that I'm in, for love of God and for love of family, country, and community. People never knew that I was like this. I was not vocal enough in the past. Perhaps I'm compensating now, for not being more vocal in the past. In the past, I was worried about feeding my children and keeping a roof over their head. That's the only reason I left them every day of their childhoods. So, my Catholic life, I just want to show you the painting, and I did include this link below because it has a very good guide. So that's the Sermon on the Mount. Now, this tells you about what it means to meditate. Meditation isn't just sitting down and making signs and symbols with your fingers and hands and contorting into, Nicki Minaj challenges and, pretending that's not idolatry. This is what I believe. Any society or civilization that wants to be successful and prosperous, and we only have money because we think we need it. We could just as easily trade goods, barter, trade services, but nobody has any real skills anymore, or very few people do, because this is how we were brought up. My skill seems to be communicating effectively to certain groups of people, and just standing firm. And sometimes that's a skill all on its own, is perseverance and try again. This all kind of started with me yesterday because I woke up and the one watermelon that I was growing was smashed. See, that's the problem, is that no matter what I do, they're taking all purpose from me. I try to garden. Everything I've tried to garden in the last 2 seasons has been sabotaged. Jen, maybe you're just not good at it. That's the thing. I am good at it. I am. And you can tell when it's an animal, when it's a pest, or when it's a human hand just wanting to be cruel. It's very easy to tell the difference if there's teeth marks, if there isn't teeth marks, if there's holes in the leaves the day before, or if suddenly your plants are just tore up, like somebody walked through and kicked them. Small fruits, perseverance. So this is a good guide for anyone who is trying to better themselves and or does not want themselves open to, as Chris Utter greatly said it, to these transcendental spirits that can transfer between people. And this is how you can be harassed everywhere you go. Um, this is why I don't film people. They'll say, well, why don't you document as a targeted individual? The first thing is I don't drive. And I urged people, if you're a TI, stop driving on your own. It'll be way cheaper for you before they take it from you anyway, or before they take your life. Uh, and the other thing is they can steal your vessel. They can steal it to reincarnate themselves because they can't leave this plane. They can't go anywhere else. Eden is above this. I believe that's where we go, but I think it's physically, spiritually, and literally above us because of the old giant trees that were here. That's just my opinion. I don't have to agree. So, this gives you a basic breakdown of what the Sermon on the Mount is and what it means. It is basically a guide for daily life and daily living. This is why I witness to people who harass me. This is why I endure abuse. You might not agree with me. And if God makes a way for me and it's God, I will go. But as a mother, I can't knowingly leave my son while he needs me. Um, and yes, I cook for him when there's food available almost every day, which I'll go do here when I'm done reading this. It's only about a 10-minute read. So it tells you the beginning part. Now, this is a meditative guide. It tells you which area to meditate on, depending on what what area you want to focus on. So 1 through 12 is the Beatitudes. 13 through 16 is salt and light. That's who we are. The law and the prophets, 17 through 20, concerning anger, 21 through 26, note to self, concerning adultery, 27 to 30, concerning divorce, 31 to 32, concerning oaths, 33 to 37, concerning retaliation. That should be the most important one if you are a targeted individual or if you were dealing with Christian persecution, and that's what this is. Um, Now they'll say it's Christian persecution. I don't want to get into that so much because it's not just Christians who are being persecuted at this time. Anyone who does not want to go along with the mainstream agendas at this time is being persecuted by the beast system. You will be vomited up by the system. It will not want you in any part of the system. We will have to leave the internet probably very soon. And this is why I revisit this every now and again. So I'm going to change the screen that I'm sharing with you. Warning, it might go black for a minute. It's an older laptop. So hang with me for a second while we wait for this to pull up. There it is. Now this is Matthew 5. This is the U version. It's a pretty user friendly. You can see this in living color if you'd like. There are movies that portray the life of Christ. More recently, it's in The Chosen. Again, I don't wholly recommend that film itself or that show itself for reasons that I've mentioned before because of how they talk about Jesus's mother and how they portray the saints. I don't believe that they were total carousers, or at least not, when all was said and done. All right. So then, seeing the crowds, he ascended the mountain. And when he had sat down, his disciples drew near to him. And opening his mouth, he taught them, saying, here we go. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Gosh, this gives me chills every time. I'm sorry. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they shall possess the earth. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be consoled. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they shall be satisfied. You can pray for justice, and you see what all these things thus far have in common. Those with a heart. This is why you can learn good things from shows like The Wizard of Oz. If I only had a heart, a brain, the nerve. It's all about all those gifts are gifts of God's Holy Spirit. Now, again, not everybody's going to agree with me. I know we've been told Hollywood is evil, but they did that with an agenda because they know people are starting to gather truths in plain sight. Okay, so I'm going to start over. I'll try not to interrupt. I'm sorry. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they shall possess the earth. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be consoled. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they shall be satisfied. You can pray for justice. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. You got to give to receive. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Notice the little s there. Blessed are those who endure persecution for the sake of justice, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. See, I'm already in heaven. Blessed are you when they have slandered you and persecuted you and spoke all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. It has to be false. In my case, it wasn't all false, and I'm dealing with the consequences of that. Recently, last year, I prayed to be in purgatory here so I wouldn't have to deal with it after. Funny how God answers your prayers before you even pray them. That should be a hint if something is from God or not, is when you receive it before you even know you need it. Be glad and exult, for your reward in heaven is plentiful, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt in the earth. But if salt loses its saltiness, with what will it be salted? It is no longer useful at all, except to be cast out and trampled under by men. You are the light of the world. A city set on a mountain cannot be hidden. There's a clue for us. A city set on a mountain cannot be hidden. And they do not light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, so that it may shine to all who are in the house. So then let your light shine in the sight of men, so that they may see your good works and may glorify your Father who is in heaven. It doesn't say to brag about your good works. It just says, don't be ashamed to do them. Do not think that I have come to loosen the law or the prophets. I have not come to loosen, but to fulfill. Amen, I say to you, certainly until heaven and earth pass away, not one iota, not one dot shall pass away from the law until it is all done. Therefore, whoever will have loosened one of the least of these commandments and have taught men so shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever will have done and taught these, such a one shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Just by reading these, perhaps heaven one day will call me and you great. For I say to you that unless your justice has surpassed that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. And who are the scribes? They write the texts. That should give you another clue, because he knew what was going to happen. You have heard that it was said to the ancients, you shall not murder. Whoever will have murdered shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that anyone who becomes angry with his brother shall be liable to judgment. That means if you still have a beef with somebody and you try to go place a sacrifice in front of God, or you pray, you need to go make up with your brother first, or try to. Now, sometimes you can't make up with that person, so it's a good thing to do for others, someone else, like your relative or loved one that you've harmed. But careful praying in that state of unforgiveness, basically. And I know this from experience. You have heard that it was said to the ancients, you shall not murder. Whoever will have murdered shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that anyone who becomes angry with his brother shall be liable to judgment. But whoever will have called his brother idiot shall be liable to the council. Then whoever will have called him worthless shall be liable to the fires of hell. You see how each step down was a degradation of behavior, thus of heart? Therefore, if you offer your gift at the altar, and there you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar, and go first to be reconciled to your brother, and then you may approach and offer your gift. Be reconciled with your adversary quickly while you are still on the way with him, lest perhaps the adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you will be thrown in prison. Basically, also, like people like to use this for the actual literal law here that we have on earth. That's basically telling you, whoever you're at odds with, try and make amends with them because they will come back around later in your life to muck things up for you. Again, I know this now because I speak from experience. So I know what these verses mean. Amen, I say to you that you shall not go forth from there until you have repaid the last quarter. Catholic priests talk about this meaning purgatory as well. It can, because if you don't do that here and make up with people like a 12-step program, then you will have to do it after this. And who wants to delay getting to the party, to the after party, right? But I say to you that anyone, oh, wait, sorry. You have heard that it was said to the ancients, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that anyone who will have looked at a woman so as to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Let's be clear here. Looked at a woman, just like uncovered. All right. You have to be looking at her with this in your heart at that time. All right. It doesn't mean to look at a woman and say, oh, wow, she's beautiful. God made her, right? She is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with saying the things that God made are beautiful. There's an innocence and purity and spirit that you're supposed to have, though. Again, they're trying to play this out on secular levels, and they want it to look like this, and it's not entirely this. Maybe they'll make God act, but some of what you're seeing is quite obviously brought on by the media, and they want, when does the media ever talk about biblical themes or things happening in the Bible? Again, it all, and even Tucker Carlson lately, it all slaps to me of mockery. So please be very careful in assumptions and, belief at this point. And this is also why I know I was raised with good teachings and solid doctrine, is because right now most of the other denominations are going to hell in a handbasket. Not to say that the Catholic Church is not. I'm saying that I was raised with a solid doctrine and foundation. I'm not saying the actual physical churches aren't all in, organizations of men, right? But those who actually have the gospel in spirit, we seem to be doing okay. As okay as we can in a crazy time. I'm sorry to interrupt, but not everybody knows what these things mean, and it's important that they be explained and not just thrown out there. And you hope that somebody, especially in this day and age. Okay. And if your right eye causes you to sin, root it out and cast it away from you, for it is better for you that one of your members perish than that your whole body be cast into hell. Now, praise God, I hope he does not mean physically, but if it comes to that, it comes to that. Like I'm not promoting this, I'm not promoting it. I'm saying you have to take that, whatever your favorite sin is, you need to avoid temptation, because right there they're talking about looking upon a woman is adultery too. Then this next part is about the eye. They're telling you, okay, it's not all about adultery, that verse, because they go on to talk about the eye and what it sees and how is that a sin will cast it away from you. Cast your sin like nowadays I won't even go into a restaurant, even the local ones that I like, if they serve alcohol. I just stay away from it. I don't think I'm that strong anymore. I don't think it's okay to have just one glass. I just stay away. That's what that means. Okay, so if your right eye causes you to sin, cast it far from you. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it away from you, for it is better for you that one of your members perish than that your whole body go into hell. That could also go for a person in the church who's not truly of the church. Maybe we should have been more exclusive over the years, and some of this misleading and secular stuff that crept into the church wouldn't have. The church should be affecting the world. And by church, I don't mean a physical brick and mortar institution. I mean people with the Spirit of God, with the gospel written on their hearts. So easy to understand that even a child will get it. Everything you do needs to be from love, especially in this time. Your chores, even no matter how menial. I've started looking at even picking up the dog waste as for God, right? I need to do a good job at that because taking care of God's creatures is showing love to God, and I'm showing respect to him by caring for what he made. Just like when you borrow something from somebody, right? You take care of it and then you give it back to them whole again. You don't ruin it. Same basic idea there. Okay, again, you have heard that it was said to the ancients, you shall not swear falsely, for you shall repay your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear an oath at all. This is very literal because where your mind is, your heart is, and that's obvious with your words. It comes out in your words and your deeds. And if you swear an oath, especially to God, this is why they get these groups to swear these oaths. They agree to go under these curses, and God curses them. Because you shouldn't be swearing oaths to begin with. You're going to say, well, what if somebody never read that and they don't know that? You know when somebody tells you, all right, do you agree to do this or your family goes under a curse? That's what all those Masonic rites are about. They don't offer themselves up to go under a curse. It's their family. That's why I have no respect for them. Why would you want to put somebody else under a curse? You have no right to do that. And God allows those men to come under the curse because they have no right to do that. They have no legal right to do that. And again, we've made everything legal here. Like we use law, we copy God, we do these things. The law is on our heart. If you do all things from love, you will not swear oaths. You won't make promises you can't keep. You won't do harm, right? You won't murder. You won't steal your neighbor's stuff. You won't steal your neighbor's wife. If you do all things from a loving place, not a love of self, love of your community, just love, right? Real love, not fake. I lust you, I love you, I miss you, so you belong with me. That's not love. That's coveting. You want to possess that thing. You don't want to love it. And people, well, why don't you leave your situation? Look, if I had a place to go, perhaps I would. But again, I reiterate to you, my son needs me. Whatever's going on with his father, he's welcome to do. He's going to have to answer to his maker whether he believes or not. How arrogant is it of you to say, well, I don't believe in thermodynamics, so therefore it doesn't exist. Just what? I've never seen China either, but that don't mean it don't exist. And it had been said, whoever would dismiss his wife, let him give her a bill of divorce. So they're saying you can divorce somebody just by being in the same household, just by neglecting them, the negligence of the relationship. But I say to you that anyone who will have dismissed his wife, except in the case of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever will have married her who has been dismissed commits adultery. There he's showing us again, it's not strictly about wives, although it is, and husbands. It's also about any relationship that you have. Married, it's adultery. It's showing that we are responsible for each other. Do not push your brother into the pit. Do not cause your wife to commit adultery by dismissing her when you're still married. You're still in the same house. Why are you dismissing her? Why are you basically divorcing yourself of her and neglecting the marriage? If she goes off, you've caused it. So he's showing us here how we are linked in a chain, circle of life, whatever you want to say. We are each responsible for each other's well-being. If you are near somebody, you should tend to them, care for them, watch out for them. Even if you do it on, if it's your neighbor. If you see somebody breaking into your neighbor's house, are you going to go call the police to try and, save their stuff while they're on vacation? Well, you should. That's being a good neighbor. Same thing. And again, I'm trying to give different examples because not everybody understands these spiritual teachings. And they, sometimes they're taught very fundamentalistic and not a broader picture. Like, how do you apply this to daily life? But I say to you, do not swear an oath at all, neither by heaven, for it is the throne of God. He's telling you, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. So they're telling you, if you're going to swear an oath, definitely don't swear one on God's name, not on God's city. And he's showing you everything belongs to God. So don't swear an oath. Because if you offend that thing that you made a promise to, or what have you, if you promise to care for your wife and look after your wife, if you promise to love your husband and look after your husband, if you promise to be a doctor and do no harm, be a healer, if you promise to be a cop and protect and serve, and you're not doing that, God will allow the spirit of justice, some call it karma, to come upon that person. And again, you're seeing this now en masse. God is not just giving out grace anymore. He's giving grace. Nobody's using it. You have to welcome it. You have to want it. And that's what I was talking about earlier with the fallen, with the spirit of like where these demonic spirits transfer to people. Who is the great king in this verse? He is the great king. What do you want about? In this verse, universe, you mean? Jesus. The Father always gives it to the Son. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Neither shall you swear an oath by your own head, because you are not able to cause one hair to become black or white. Meaning, even if you say the oath on your own head, if you say that you're willing to curse yourself, that even that's not good. Because even though it's yourself, you have no right because you belong to God. Only God can make your hair go black or white or gray or give you white hair is related to wisdom. So he's saying only God can give wisdom or take it away. Just like he told Job, did you create all this? Did you set the earth on its foundations? Then why are you concerned either way about this? Let me worry about that, right? He's telling you, God owns all this. Don't swear oaths because God's the one who will bring the curse upon you because you swore the oath. And, again, this is why some of us are going through the things we are going through. Some of us have done wrong and we are enduring the consequences of our actions. But it goes deeper than that. I've dealt with this no matter how I've been my whole life. I was winning awards. I was a good wife. I was working all the time outside of the house, providing for my family. I was not talking to anybody. I was doing everything. It's never enough. It's never enough by earthly standards anyway. This is why you can't earn salvation. God is willing to give it to you. He says, come back home. You have to work your way there as a spirit, as a being. You have to grow. You have to grow up, right? Okay, so, but let your word yes mean yes and no mean no, for anything beyond that is of evil. Meaning, right? When somebody asks you a question, see, oaths require you to stay like this paragraph long of whatever. I will do this, I will do that, I will do this, I will do that. Reminds me of Leviticus. Again, those are not God's, those are man's laws that man created. And everybody keeps out law of Moses, law of Moses. Moses's laws ended up being the 10 commandments. So why everybody still wants to go back to the 613? Those people need to just stay off my channel if they're going to keep pushing that, because it's just not good. It's total disrespect for the sacrifice. I'm a Christ believer. We are in the New Testament. And in fact, if up until the end of Acts, that is the last bit in the Bible. It's not Revelation, it's Acts. Timeline wise, the last one is Acts. The book of Revelation is the apocalypse of Jesus Christ written by John. It's the revealing of Christ's life, birth, death, resurrection, ministry, and some bits at the end. I sometimes these things need explained. You have to explain these things. This is why I take the time. And people who don't have the time, I'm sorry, but this is why I take the time. It's important to be thorough and specify things, especially in this time. And again, yes mean yes and no mean no. Why are you still talking, Jen? This is talking about oaths. When people want you to promise something, when they want you to just let it be yes and no mean no. This is why, like, to agree to, like, be married with someone, you should just be able to make that verbal agreement. It shouldn't matter what piece of paper that you have necessarily. My problem with that is the lie, is the deception. Well, if you said you were marrying somebody, then you should have darn well married them. Like, if you said that's what was happening, then that's what should have happened. So you have heard that this is where it gets this part is hard, especially for men that promote holy wars. But you have heard that it was said that an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist one who is evil. But if anyone will have struck you on your right cheek, offer to him the other also. And anyone who wishes to contend with you in judgment and take away your tunic, release to him your cloak also. These are hard verses for our flesh to hear. Me too. They're hard to explain, but let me see if I can do it. It used to be said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right? Tit for tat. Somebody does this to you, you do that to them. We're not supposed to be that way, though. It's not supposed to be tit for tat. And I wholeheartedly mean it when I tell people, hey, I raise my voice for a reason. And I'm not calling you a name. I'm saying, why are you behaving like this right now? It's the only thing I can say. Because on certain people's level at this point in time, that NPC, it's very hard to use proper etiquette and words that they don't even understand anymore. Like, I don't know what's going on with people. But basically, that's saying, if somebody messes you over, don't take them to court and sue them over it, because that's the problem with it, is it's going to keep going on and on. It's never going to end. You're constantly causing harm to each other. And what does that mean? Neither one of you is growing in spirit. You're doing the same thing for years on end, generations. You're teaching other generations to be just as hateful, right? He came to fulfill the prophecies of the prophets. Those, if you're gonna lean on Old Testament, lean on the prophets. And I would beg you, read just them and you tell me the one thing they all have in common. One thing. You'll get it if you read just the prophets. Nothing else, no other books. Just the prophets. Where they're prophesying, what they're prophesying about, what do they all have in common? So it's basically saying that this will go on forever. It's never going to end. So if they're arguing with you and they want that parking spot, give it to them. Heck, give them two. Okay? Do you see what that means? And whoever will have compelled you for 1,000 steps, go with him even for 2,000 steps. If you're in agreement to do some work for somebody, right? Or if you're in agreement to go do contract work for victims of like Helene and hurricanes and whatnot, he's saying if you agreed to build the house for somebody or put in the plumbing, why not go ahead and stick around for an extra hour and see if they need any extra help? He's telling you. All of these things mean the same thing, but he's giving you instances in everyday life. People say there is no book, manual for life, and this is it right here. God bless that channel who first told me to go here. Because somebody told me to read Romans, and I was like, that's where I should start in Romans. I really don't. And it was dry, and I just didn't care for it. Somebody else told me, and that was somebody that knew me. Somebody else told me, go read Sermon on the Mount. That's where you want to start. Go read that. And I'm glad I did. And whoever compelled you for 1,000 steps, go with him for even 2,000 more. So he's saying, go above and beyond. That way, if somebody does accuse you of something, it's going to look blatantly false because you've done nothing but decent things. You've given them more than they've asked for. You're never going to be seen guilty then, not per natural law, which is the law in nature. For example, if the law of three, you only pick every third mushroom or every third carrot and you leave the rest for somebody else and for it to like be germified or populated, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, pollinated. Anyways, it's kind of the same thing there. You keep, and these smear campaigns, pointing back to the targeted individual thing, if you're always doing these good things out in front of people, if you're always friendly, if you smile, if if you buy people lunch, if you take them coffees, the stuff that person's saying about you eventually is going to look real foolish and people are going to get real tired of that. And the demonic will allow that to happen. They will allow your accusers to degrade. And I'm watching that happen now. Because again, these people said all kind of things about me. This is why they can't have me working. Because I was out there buying people's lunches and giving to people that I knew and didn't know. I was doing those things. But not to look good. It has to be a heart thing, right? It has to come from heart. And only God knows that. So, whoever asks of you, give to him. And if anyone would borrow from you, do not turn away from him. You have heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and you shall have hatred for your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you and pray for those who persecute you and slander you. Most people don't like that either, that part. Why would you do this? Your flesh, and again, these are men who are insecure will often behave this way and say things like this. Like why we like something appeals to that machismo in there, like that like why would what do you mean? I tell him, I gotta tell him, or whatever. You're weak. Why would you love me? Why are you being so weak? Why are you allowing this to happen to you? You're so weak. Because these things you're doing to me, if I retaliate, they're going to come back to you in a big, magnificent, bad way. I don't want to make that any worse for you by retaliating, even if I'm justified in retaliating. I don't want to add on to that. And we are also told this is why they're given their reward here. This is what they wanted. They wanted this life. They wanted the riches here. Well, have them. You can have those. But I say to you, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who persecute you. And also, if you're doing these things with a loving heart and you're fulfilling these requirements, you will never be counted guilty. God will never allow false accusations to work against you unless, like Christ, it's the end of your life and something's going to happen. And, most of the times those things get revealed too. Certain things we shouldn't worry about because we're not going to have to deal with them at a point. You know what I mean? This is why I don't promote writing a will, getting life insurance. You don't want to do any of those things. Any of them. They're all spiritual bondage. Furthermore, they give license to the demonic to do you harm. You won't believe, well, it's life insurance if it doesn't protect anything. Anything. Okay, in this way you shall be sons of your Father, little s, who is in heaven. He causes his sun to rise upon the good and the bad, and he causes it to rain upon the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward will you have? Do not even tax collectors behave this way? And if you greet only your brothers, what more have you done? Do not even the pagans behave this way? Therefore be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. Now, hold, that does not mean the ideation of human perfection. Our idea of perfect is not God's idea of perfect. Our idea of perfect probably includes the way we look, the way we talk, the way we dress. As far as God's concerned, it is your heart. Because if your heart is perfected, then so will your thoughts be, so will your words be, so will your deeds be. When I say things start in spirit, when it begins with a sentient being, All things start in the heart. Pay attention lest you perform your justice before men in order to be seen by them. Otherwise, you shall not have a reward with your Father who is in heaven. Therefore, when you give alms, do not choose to sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the towns, so that they may be honored by men. Amen, I say to you that they have received their reward. That should be self-explanatory. If you're going to give, let it be of your heart. If you're going to give, you shouldn't have to receive a gold star for it. Hint, hint. If you're going to give, you should just be able to give and not have it announced all over the place. And again, I have people who are trying to force me off of social media, and so they play on that. Wasn't this bragging? Aren't you? Just stop it. Stop. You're not going to stop me from doing this as long as this is what God wants me to do. And He wants me shining the light, being an inspiration somehow through my suffering. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So when you give alms, you shouldn't need something in return. You shouldn't need a gold star. You shouldn't need I gave to the blood drive today. You shouldn't need any of these things. I wouldn't advise you do those things, but when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your almsgiving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will repay you. It's not literally about your hand. Your right hand man, your right hand, like don't even tell your family. Just give. Just go give and be done with it. Unless it is a mutual bank account and you're giving something together, like that's different. Almsgiving together is a little different. It's just saying you should not need recognition. The Masonic Lodge, all those people, they always, Toys for Tots, all that stuff. The police, the firemen, they always, oh, they get so loved in their community for always giving, always giving, always giving. If you need that type of constant reassurance that you're a good person, you're probably in dire need of confession and prayer and repentance. And I'm just being honest. Nothing here operates the way that we thought it did, or at least what it says. Shelters aren't shelters. Those are gateways for every kind of trafficking, every kind. And the places that say they stop trafficking, no, they don't. I was gonna apply to stay in one shelter or something years ago before I really, dug in here, and when I still didn't know what God wanted me to do. And the questions that they ask you are highly inappropriate and disgusting. And and it was a form, like it was a scan of the actual form. So I know it wasn't just some BS email that somebody made. Okay, so you shouldn't need to be seen, right? We shouldn't need to showcase our whole lives on social media, which is why the only social media I have that is active at this point is YouTube. I have like a LinkedIn and I have an Instagram. I just use those to message the 2 or 3 people that I still talk to at this time. I'm not, and again, that's not what I do, shouldn't always be what you do, but I'm showing you that there's a trend here that a lot of us are pulling away from these things. And if this is the only interaction we have, we're going to have to start leaning on the idea of, okay, we need to gather. And I'm sorry, I have a really hard time trusting anyone who doesn't show their face and, that has a channel. You can't hide like that. That's the whole point. You can't say you're a Christ follower and hide your face. Like it's none of you can't hide and you can't advertise either, right? If you stand for Christ, you can't be embarrassed of it. You can't be ashamed of it. You just have to the notion that we want to hide anyway shows that there's something wrong with us and our lives. And also and by hide, I mean fellowshipping, witnessing, testifying. I don't mean the dress that you wore to your brother-in-law's wedding or whatever, bar mitzvah, any of it, right? You see the difference? God knows our hearts. If you're here to fellowship and to, share in ideas and things like that and learn new things and teach me new things, awesome. right? But God knows your heart and he knows our motivations. So these are all, none of these are, there's a reason Christ is going through all these different examples and saying, do this, do that. It's to apply. So it says, amen to, right here, street evangelizing. For all these people who like to make these street evangelizing look. But you, when you pray, enter into your room, and having shut the door, pray to your Father in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will repay you. And when praying, do not choose many words, as the pagans do, for they think that by their excessive words they might be heeded. I do that sometimes. I'm a little too wordy. When you grow up as a pagan, all of these things take time to drop off of you. So this is why I'm telling you, there's no time to waste. You wanna have it in your head and heart that like, hey, I need to make changes. And this is also, again, these give us daily things. But as far as even like addiction and bad habits, replace them with good habits, like reading, like learning a new skill. I know I can garden because I taught myself to again, and I thought back and I relied on the things that my Uncle Andy, Aunt Grace, my dad, and my grandma, Grammy had all taught me. Um, and so, make the most of the time that you have, but don't wait too long to make changes, because the longer you wait, the harder it is, and eventually it will become impossible. Therefore, do not choose to imitate them, for your Father knows what your needs may be even before you ask Him. Therefore, you shall pray in this way: Our Father who is in heaven, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come. May your will be done, as in heaven, so also on earth. Give us this day our life sustaining bread, and forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but free us from evil. Amen. This is the Catholic version. It's the Catholic online version. I know it's a little different. Guess what, guys? Things digitally are programmed and can be changed at any time. Okay? So it doesn't mean, something supernatural happened. And again, I do believe in the Mandela effect, but I believe in it a little differently than most people. For if you will forgive men their sins, your heavenly Father also will forgive you your offenses. Give to receive, forgive, and you will receive forgiveness. But if you will not forgive men, neither will your Father forgive your sins. And when you fast, do not choose to become gloomy like the hypocrites, for they alter their faces so that their fasting may be apparent to men. Amen, I say to you that you have received their reward. The same would apply to like sick people, right? And again, it's not that you don't want to care for sick people. It's that it's saying don't exacerbate things. If you don't feel good on the inside, don't show that on the outside. And if you're going to fast, don't show that on the outside. Don't always expect a reward or a cookie. Just do things because they're the right thing to do. But as for you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that your fasting will not be apparent to men, but to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will repay you. Do not choose to store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where rust and moth consume, and where thieves break in and steal. Instead, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither rust nor moth consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there also is your heart. So he's saying, don't be too attached to earthly things, basically. And where your heart is, there your mind is. The lamp of your body is your eye. If your eye is wholesome, your entire body will be filled with light. Garbage in, garbage out. Protect your eye gates, protect your ear gates. Be very careful what you watch and listen to, especially in this time. They're using severe subliminals and a lot of things. They really want people ending themselves. I think some even think that that's the humane way for things to be. People actually think we're out of resources. If we are out of them, that would be our own doing. We need to learn new skills to take care of ourselves. We need to stop looking to the government to take care of us. It's not their job, really. They're there to hold laws in place. They're there if we need a judge. They're there if somebody needs to be arrested. That should be it. And sadly, I'm not anti-law and order. I think people need law and order, but I don't think we should need it. Like, I think we should be governing our own selves and behaving rightly. But if your eye has been corrupted, your entire body will be darkened. If then the light that is in you is darkness, how great will that darkness be? So he's saying, especially those who are the fathers, be careful. And some people relate this verse here to the third eye, the pineal gland. I don't, not that one. I mean, it can apply, obviously, but that is also telling you to guard your eyes and what you see and what you watch and what you expose yourself to. No one is able to serve two masters, for either he will have hatred for one and love the other, or he will persevere with the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God in wealth. Mammon is wealth. People want to say, oh, it's a demon, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Well, then it's the dominion of money. It is wealth, not spiritual blessings, not spiritual richness that the true God gives us. We worship God in spirit. Wealth is a man-made thing, concept. Give to Caesar what is his. People don't understand that either. And they don't want to hear this. Even Christ followers, they do not want to hear that they can't have both. You can't have both. You can have enough. God will give us enough. But you can't have both. And he even tells us like this prepping. That's basically hoarding. And I'm not telling you not to have your family prepared. That's the wise thing to do because we learn about that all through the Bible. I'm telling you there's a point to where it's a certain point, like if you just have, like I watched some of these channels. That's not just prepping. You're like buying all of the paper towel that one Costco had, and you're gonna go do it again next month. Why are you doing that? I just And so I say to you, do not be anxious about your life as to what you will eat, nor about your body as to what you will wear. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? And yes, I picked an easier version because I did not want all the old English in here. It makes it hard for some people to understand. Consider the birds of the air. Hold please. I thought the ending was forth as a kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever. Again. Don't start about the Mandela effect in here. Please don't do it. Every version they make of the Bible, they update it. I honestly forgot about that part being on there because even in the churches, they don't say that part anymore. I say it. So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. You lead us not into temptation, but you deliver us from the evil one. From thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory now and forever and ever. Amen. That's it. This isn't the only place that you see that. I don't think. I think the Lord's Prayer it's elsewhere, and they give the whole thing. I think with the whole ending. I'm not certain, but I think so. But this is a newer digital Catholic version. I know. Please again, you can think what you want. Other people, and again, I go back to the Sermon on the Mount a couple of times a year, at least, well, a couple times a year to cover it because it is important. But with the more time that passes, the less people that understand those old words. They have to modernize it. Sin used to be transgression. Then, before transgression, it was debt. Okay? My Aunt Grace learned debt and debtors. She's a generation, two generations ahead of me. Okay? So with every generation, they have to make it understandable for that generation. Do you understand? So transgression, sin, debt, and by debt we mean spiritual. Those are all the same things. I hope that makes sense. So when they update things digitally, you'll see them do that just so people can have a better understanding of them. That's something they should be doing. It makes the gospel available to everybody, even people who aren't the best at understanding old English and words that they used to use, old-timey words. I don't know how else to say it. I would say proper English, But yeah, they don't even teach proper English anymore. So we have to make it relevant so that people can understand the message. And when you sin, that's transgressing against nature. It's going the wrong way against the natural law that God placed here. Okay? When you do that, that's when you get consequences, or karma, some people call it, or justice, divine justice. Okay. So let me start that little part over again. I'm sorry. I will do a video where I just read it, but some people, we need to explain things. Consider the birds of the air, how they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of much greater value than they are? I'll just let that sit there for a minute. And which of you, by thinking, is able to add 1 cubit to his stature? Can you make yourself taller? No. And as for clothing, why are you anxious? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither work nor weave. But I say to you that not even Solomon in all his glory was arrayed like one of these. So if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is here today, and cast into the oven tomorrow, how much more will he care for you, O little in faith? He's saying if we have bigger faith and rely on God, we don't have to worry about being indebted to mammon, indebted to the beast system, indebted to wealth. Therefore, do not choose. Isn't that funny? With earthly wealth, you become indebted, right? Like you just do. You can't keep the wealth unless you're doing what they want you to do. You're sacrifice, and that's what they mean by sold out, sold my soul. Man, I sold my soul to be here. I sold out. I'm doing things I don't want to do. I'm making music I don't want to make. I'm living in a way I don't want to be living. I'm promoting things I don't want to be promoting. Selling your soul isn't, sometimes it is, but usually it's not like you just meeting the devil and making an agreement with him. It's little by little things that you do. That's why most people don't realize it's happened until it's happened. Okay, therefore do not choose to be anxious, saying, what shall we eat and what shall we drink, and with what shall we be clothed? For the Gentiles seek all these things, yet your Father knows that you need all these things. Therefore seek first the kingdom of God and his justice, and all these things shall be added to you as well. Therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for the future day will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its evil. Hold, please. I'm going to move over to something real quick. And I want to look at something here. It says 38 and 42. I think we already did that. Now, these are the Beatitudes. Sermon on the Mount goes on for a few chapters. But for the sake of what we were talking about at the beginning of this video, and I like to do that for people who fast forward or only get here at the end or what have you, we're going to point back to the beginning. And again, in case you missed it, and I didn't go over it, I just read it, but I didn't point to this specific place. Why do I tolerate gang stalkers knowing that it's them? Why do I comment on their channels? Why do I share verses with them? Why am I kind to them? Why do I interact with them at all? This is why. So the Beatitudes, this is concerning retaliation, verse 38 and 42. So we're going to go there. We're going to see what they have to say to this. The Old Testament permitted justice in that it permitted one to seek an eye for an eye. The new law of grace calls you infinitely beyond this. See, that's the thing. We're not supposed to get justice for ourselves. Like, we're not supposed to go out and lay waste to people and their belongings. The new law of grace, the new law of grace calls you infinitely beyond this. Mercy and forgiveness now satisfy justice, meaning God has replaced the Old Testament justice, and this is why they want you back under that. And I hope people pay attention, and I hope they stay to listen for a minute if they're here. Mercy and forgiveness now satisfy justice. And again, these are teachings. I was raised with good doctrine. The churches all might be a mess right now, but the doctrine I was raised with is sound, and that's why I'm not losing my mind like so many other people out there now. My husband says I have. He says I've lost my mind because I believe in God, because I believe in Sky Daddy. Let me tell you something. It's really sad that certain people don't understand that life isn't just as it is in your family. There are a lot of decent people out there still trying to be decent and do decent things. This is why abusers never want you around your family and they never want you making friends. They don't want you seeing the way other people live and what normalcy can be. Men and women are supposed to be have the same rights, right? Mercy and forgiveness now satisfy justice. Okay? What does that mean? Is God not just anymore? No, God is just, right? But we are in an age of grace when everyone has this chance to come to Christ and to repent and to do all these things that we're supposed to be doing. God is, of course, still just. He will still allow things to happen in certain people's life. He will still allow consequences to come to us, of course. But God is also merciful if you ask him to be and you pray for him to be. And if you ask, say, if you realize what you've done, right? Because realizing what you've done and admitting to it, it's like, oh my gosh, what have I done to that other person? I am sorry. I will not behave in that manner anymore. I'm going to try not to hurt them in that way anymore. And you try to move forward from whatever that is. So God still brings a sense of justice onto that person, a yoke of justice, so to speak. He still allows it to play out in their life. Might not be the way you wanted it to play out, but God knows what he's doing. All right, we got to learn to stay out of the way with certain things. Mercy and forgiveness now satisfy justice. To be merciful and forgiving does two things. One, it invites you to acknowledge the evil done in all truth. It allows you to say, yes, this was done to me. Yes, these people stalk me. Yes, they say things about me that aren't true. Yes, they say things about me that I very clearly said no to, or they say the exact opposite of what I've agreed to or didn't agree to. But you acknowledge it, right? You acknowledge that this evil was done. This is why I expose things. It's cleansing for me and my family, whether they're the ones confessing it or not. You acknowledge it. Two, it calls you to then let go of that and give it to God. You give God the need for justice. He will bring it upon that person in their life in the way that they will best learn because he's the one that made them. We can't go be around being vigilantes. We're not supposed to be. And again, this does not, most men who say they follow Christ do not follow Christ. Most men who say they believe in the Bible only stick with the Old Testament because of this right here, is because of eye for an eye. There are men and some women out there today who are very bloodthirsty. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, I'm very serious. They want nothing more than to see people go to war with each other. They want nothing more than to see war in the homes and families split up. I'm not saying that we don't need change. We need change in a radical way. But we need to first work on ourselves before we can be in bigger communities again. I think we need to go backwards. I think we need to go backwards in technology and a lot of these things that are going on. But I'm allowed to have my beliefs and you're allowed to have yours. This is why when they do something to you, you can get mad, you can even say things, and you can say things in truth is better to do. But actual justice, wanting retaliation, give that to the one who made you because he's going to give it to them in a way that they best understand. So let me come back over here. Okay. Back to just two of you, huh? Well, thanks for being here. This was not supposed to be this long. I am going to go make my son some food and take my dogs out. And I got a couple of shorts I can post, but my phone, of course, is acting funny ever since I told you that young lady stood way too close to me when I went to church last time. And I said, like, that thought came into my head, like she's trying to get close to my purse for the NTF trade in the phone. But my phone's not been acting right since then. And so I have to like dump all these apps and get rid of things and move them to Google folders and all this stuff. So I do have things to do. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. It's not that I don't value your time or I don't respect your time, but some people don't know these spiritual things. They've never been taught morals or values or ethics, and so they need explaining. And I'm not saying that in a condescending or rude way, because there's a whole lot of stuff that I still don't know that I'm trying to teach myself. And I'm embarrassed that I've led such a sheltered life in a way, but in another way, it's kept me from serious like I've had some serious harm come upon me, but my soul is still here and I still got a heart. So I love you guys. We'll talk more soon. And I hope you have a blessed day. And as always, please share in the comments. I had paused the comments. I had turned them off for this video. I don't know how they're even working, but later.